of
Such as?
uh such as a few things I've heard. There was a little bit of a scuffle over at your tent last night. I think someone heard the shouting. Oh, I do hope you're all right.
I do not know what. Maybe someone nearby tent. And he looks over his shoulder to the two Marines. Basically, it's like the boys and the girls sometimes like to play rough.
I see.
If you know what I mean. But nothing untoward. I do not allow or condemn any abuse of anyone under my command.
Of course.
You can do a sort of observation to see how the two Marines react to this.
Yeah. Let's see. I do have an extra bit of observation these days, I think. Yep, yeah. The D6, and this is probably just mine. Boop. 2d6. Hey! 1 success.
You get one success, and basically you notice that they try very hard not to sort of look at each other like, what the, but they're like, they're doing the Marine thing where they're like, they're on attention, so, but you kind of look, their eyes sort of wander over, and it's like, oh.
Yes. Oh, well, I can understand maybe if you're having some sort of woman trouble these days. But such things, I'm sure, must be private if you're willing. If we're to talk about that, I
would like to say that my duty consumes me at this moment. The only mistress I follow is the mistress of the sea, and she, if I do say my coarse language, is one mean bitch.
Of course. But I'd like to give you this opportunity, if you'd like, to maybe ask your men to leave for now.
And he takes a moment. You're going to have to impress him, because he sees
this is me clearly impressing upon him, like, I have something, and I've been hinting it to you through your thick skull for about 5 minutes now.
Yeah.
I hope you realize that maybe this is serious.
He is like, his mind understands that he's in some kind of danger. But his reaction is like, he actually looks over where Harmon is at, and he knows, everybody by now knows Harmon just cleaned the fuck everywhere. He's like, oh yeah, I don't, and he looks at his man.
And this is me getting across, this isn't physical danger, this is political danger, and no sword is ever going to help you.
Yeah, well.
Until the very end.
You have to make a will, impress him on the fact that this is
so this is just pure stats here, pure presence, and I don't think anything else really applies unless like nobility to like wink, nudge, or I guess that'd be etiquette.
You get 2 successes. You really are. He's already you've been wearing him down. So yeah.
Yeah.
He says, "Gentlemen, would you wait for me outside? This shouldn't take but a moment." And the question hangs in the air of like whether it will in fact take a moment or not.
Mm-hmm.
And they leave. Right? They look at Harm. They look at you. They look at the whole scene. It's like, well, yeah, whatever happens, we'll be outside. Call if you need us, sir. And it's like, yes.
Now, so there have been some questions as of late of your full record and maybe how honest you've been on some things.
Who is?
Well,
accusations.
Well, some
I'd like to know who is accusing me of these things. I have done nothing wrong except being a faithful servant of the crown, as we all should be, sir.
Well, it is perhaps that you haven't been fully honest about your lineage.
I'm a servant of
which,
humble origin.
As I have come to discover, is perhaps more complicated than most people would ever have assumed.
He keeps his mouth shut. He's like, waiting for you. He's waiting for the other shoe to drop, basically. He's like,
yes.
Okay, what do you got?
And I'm sure you've already understand the consequences if that comes out, unless it perhaps was cleared by someone most interested in your reputation first and foremost. Now, as I understand it, Good King Edgar is somewhat wary of those who have but common birth and have risen, but if it were somehow that you were other than a common birth, then maybe he would be more accepting of such a thing. And in such a case, maybe you would find a much better home in the future with him than with Edward.
I said so, and I repeat, I am a humble servant of the High King. And it seems anything untoward were to happen, and pray that it does not, considering everything that's happened yesterday and last night, that it would be Edgar who will be bestowed the crown as the eldest son. Ergo, if I had to retain my position as admiral of his flotilla, then I would serve him as most faithfully as he did his father.
Of
I don't
course.
see any question whatsoever.
Very good. Very good. So you're not very concerned about the past. That I can understand. I think things should still work out for you wonderfully. You've had such a wonderful career. But I believe there are some things slightly in question about a few events. Now, I was with you when we were on our recent event together. You remember such a battle. Did something seem odd to you about it?
It was a glorious victory.
A glorious victory, but do you think perhaps things were in your favor?
There always are, by the grace of the gods themselves and Her Majesty's blessing. When it should be otherwise.
But so strange it is that every action you've taken out on the seas has been in your favor. No man is purely made out of luck, are they? I wonder perhaps if you claim some sort of divine guidance.
Well, the old adage is always true. Destiny, is it destiny? It favors the bold? Something like that. It's not important. What's important is that I have bold action, and I must confess that while I have many victories under my belt, not all of them have come at a cheap price, so to speak. I have lost friends along the way, underlings who have been loyal to me, brave men and women who have given their lives and perhaps even their souls, their livelihoods, everything that they have, everything that they were, for the cause of the Isles.
All right.
I would caution you, sir, not to besmirch their names, your pursuit of your political goals.
And to all this, I have to, of course, drop back to Korea and go, so how forthright is he on this, and how much is he hiding on, and how did he react to these accusations?
Go ahead.
It's clear he's also trying to go, like, this is a dangerous game with me. So if we go back to the previous role, we have our will, our presence, our authority, and our nobility over him.
Nobility is not going to work because he's getting an idea where you're coming from. You mentioned nobility. So now he feels like this is, you're not, he's falling back into his own nobility. It's coming through, right? He's falling as a defense, so no.
So I'll go ahead and pull that back out, and I'll probably see about rolling bonus dice if it's truly necessary. But I do have the D12, which doesn't come fully through. I do have a base 2 successes, but if he's rolling opposing, he has to beat a 6.
Okay. Yeah.
Oof.
This time around, he stonewalls, right?
When I think I gotta roll my personality on this to turn it around first.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is gonna be my D12. I am Vane's. Like, you think this is your story? It's mine. Where I'm uncovering the truth
you have
here.
Your flashback as well, if you can manage it.
I don't think it's gonna roll the 8, which is the critical point here.
Yeah.
So I needed the D12, and the D12 came through.
Yeah, you don't get a lot of him, but when he threw that line about sacrificing others, that was bullshit. He doesn't care.
He does not
care. Now, he is so, it takes one to know one. He's so vain and vainglorious that he's like, yeah, these were sacrifices. People die. As long as it's not me, that's fine. But he also knows the importance of it. You're getting a vibe that this guy's a bit psychopathic. Right? That this guy doesn't actually care about other people but himself. Right?
Very interesting.
That the people he mentions, you've seen this before. You even done it yourself, or so. Where would you say things that people expect them to hear, and that's clearly something a line that he has used to defend himself in the past. Like people say, "Oh, he may have been accused in the past of being somebody who is a glory hound," and he turns it around saying, "Are you saying that the men and women that have sacrificed, are should be taken for granted? How dare you, sir?" Right? He's putting it on you, but you're seeing that through it, right? You're like, yeah, this guy,
So that's what I've gotten. But when it comes to like, does he notice anything odd about the things that have happened? He doesn't seem as if he's confused about that.
He remember also there's a part that he's basically a simpleton, thinking. So it's like if he's winning, he's winning. He doesn't care. He's winning. It's like rolling a die. You can win by one. You can squeak by. You can win by a lot. It doesn't matter as long as you roll the right numbers. And he's a winner. He doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this is if it happened easily. He doesn't see the lives of others, right? Unless he makes him look bad. That's the read that you're getting from him, right? It isn't so much about this is a human life and it's wasted or whatever. It's more like would it impact me in a way that people are like looks bad. Common sailor, common marine dying, a ship or two sunk. If he can spin it as a glorious victory or a brutal,
right,
campaign that he survived, he will do so, right?
So that's made things even more interesting. That he might not be very well aware of how much his career has been boosted by other forces, and that these other forces may merely be using him as a pawn, of which he is not privy. Now that is very interesting and makes him useful still as a pawn. So I am sort of, I think, happy with how things are going.
And then there's this pause as you're, absorbing information, and he sort of takes it a moment, says, "Well, sir, magistrate, if there's anything else I can provide for you with, please write the documentation." It seems that Kenneth is literally pulling out stakes. As well, of course, I'm sure that he will go visit the body of his father, but he'll do so in such a way probably that should lessen tensions. At least I hope. But
there's much to attend to, I'm sure. But I do think then we are done here. I believe that that more than certainly you are clear of wrongdoing today. That is my truest belief in my heart, and I believe I have seen your true honesty and uprightness here today with me. And I would hope with our discussion that you continue to show me this honesty and uprightness in the future for our High King.
And he gets
I
up
would never wish to see your boat sink.
And he turns around, and for the first time you see something you've never seen in him before, sort of almost a predatory gleam in his eyes when he says, "One should be very careful where one digs, or one may end up digging his own grave. I learned that a long time ago. Perhaps I impart this piece of wisdom to you today. Good day, sir."
Good day, Admiral.
And he turns away. Not so veiled threat, but it didn't seem to be a physical threat.
Right. We are now in a political game with each other. Me, a vain, vainglorious lower noble, with a high admiral who used to be a noble masquerading as a commoner with a scandal in his background. Who will win? Who will suicide first? Find out next time. But it seems as if the message went through him loud and clear, I believe.
Yeah. Well, and I think the more as the read that you get, sorry to interrupt, it's more of like he knows you have something on him. Mm-hmm. He's not really sure. Again, he's not very smart. But he's not going to take any chances, right? He's sort of covering his ass.
Right. So, I have told him just enough that he knows to be afraid and to not make a sudden move against the High King.
For the time being, at least.
Yeah.
Duncan, while all these
machinations
are happening, these high-level discussions, you are dealing with the common riffraff. So you're going to roll gossip and investigation or observation and try to find your context, see if things have tempered down a little bit and they're more receptive to your message.
I am hoping they have, because I would like to actually learn something today that might help us out a little bit from a different perspective. Hey, 3 successes this time.
Oh yeah, this time around, it's a thing where the scene, if we were to play out, is sort of a montage where you talk to somebody and they point to somebody else, and they somebody say hello, and you change a couple words, and you go to somebody else, like 4 or 5 or 6 steps, and finally you find yourself in between tents talking to, cast member number 96, right? Background element, going, hey, mate, what
Hey.
can I do for you? You say you were asking around. Yeah, I am.
Oh, yes, I'm always asking around. I'm looking for some information.
All right. What can the brothers and sisters in plenty help you today?
Oh, you guys are plenty indeed. I had a couple of questions about our friends in the higher stands, if you will. I was wondering if maybe you can. I was wondering, considering all the commotion that's been going on, everyone's a little scared right now, but that hasn't really stopped my own work here. I'm looking for essentially like little weak points to hit on, specifically regarding our friend, the Admiral over there, and his possible mistress, possible not mistress, this lioness woman I keep hearing about.
I mean, some people have been asking about her for a little bit. I think she lives nearby in one of the villages of Fairweather, I think it's named. And she seems to be someone who's been asking a lot from the Admiral too, for some reason.
Oh, really?
I heard there's some relation, perhaps. I'm not really sure. Some connection there, but I don't think they're bumping under the sheets, if you know what I mean. Seems more.
It's actually huh. I guess my information is faulty, because from what I heard, that they were there last night together. Unless if you know something different.
Well, you see, she's been asking around, spending some coin. Dinners have been flowing for the last couple of months. Let's have it that she appeared in Fairweather about 4 or 5 years ago, was taken under the wing, so to speak, of the owner of one of the, middling families there. We do some business with them here and there, right? But that's between you and me. Don't want to spread rumors around. And she's really
Of course not.
fairly well kept in the house. But very rare. We don't really know exactly what she does. She's not a servant, but she's not an adopted child or anything. But she's there. She works. See, some of the boys actually try to, romance, I think is the term. She was amiable, I suppose, but she kept her distance, and we're respectful because, unless you're willing to work for us for the right coin, we make sure we don't make a lot of trouble. She doesn't seem the kind of lady that you simply invite to your tent, such as it is, not without having something cut off in return. My boys and I like to keep all our parts, if you know what I mean.
I understand that feeling immensely, actually. That is actually quite interesting, though. And what family did you say she was with?
The Lanors. The Lanors have been up and coming gentry. I think the grandfather actually served against an insurrection, peasant insurrection, turned it around, the king then, this Lyle, decided to basically give him some lands to administer. Did so well, earned some coin, that sort of thing, invested it. Up and coming gentlemen. Yes, the landlords are up and coming. And they took her in a couple of years ago, so that seems to be a thing. Why would they do that? I do not know, but that seems to be a thing. Yes.
So they're new rich, basically.
Oh yeah. I think the term is nouveau riche, but I mean practicing my Calabrian, so I might be getting it wrong.
I have a terrible accent with that. I've given up on it for now. Maybe a tutor can teach me later.
Right. So what else?
Interesting.
Yeah. Come on.
Do you know any? Oh, I'm definitely not shy, my good sir. I just have another question. What do you know about our friend the Admiral, then? Because apparently he is the talk of the town if this Miss Madeline is after her as well.
I don't know much about him, but between you and I, you and me, it doesn't matter, between the two of us, He seems to be also squirrely type, and I don't mean actual squirrel. He's a lion, but I mean that he seems the type that's sort of you can tell, you can tell that he's keeping something under his color. The way he talks, he's very happy to sort of suck up to the higher people. Too badly to do that. I don't trust people like that, unless you have to, keep your neck in its place, which is understandable. But something smells wrong about that one.
Possibly blackmail?
Maybe.
Interesting.
I know that the fellow that you've been talking to has been digging around quite a bit. In fact, he digged around the thing with the Montagues. It set some alarms on the Montague home. The thing is, the Montagues are also new blood. I mean, a generation ago there was someone else, and then they're there. And business is business. We just do business with whoever. He's remodeling his place, so that's good for our boys, laborers and such. But he also seems to be very hard nosed. One of the reasons why we keep it on the down low, as it were, because last time we, trampled in his turf, several heads hung very quickly. He has that old bull has a nose for the thief, if you know what I'm saying. Now that I am a thief, I never stole anything in my life. Honest man, always been.
Oh, of course, I am as honest as the day is long as well.
But they got caught and they hung for it very quickly too. So we've been trying to keep out of his way for a while now. He seems to be someone who is knowledgeable of things, even though he's supposed to be a bad and rarely there, rarely are. But this one has a keen nose. Broken horn, but a keen nose nonetheless.
And just for clarification, that you said it's Montague.
Baron Montague. He's described as a bovine, as a cow / in this case a bull.
Okay, just checking for my notes.
You know that one of the things that made Harmon famous was that he took him 1-on-1 in the Grand Melee, and Harmon just sort of kicked his ass.
Wipe the floor with him. Yeah.
So this is the Baron of the lands that you're in. So So there seems to be something's going on there, but he doesn't know much more than that.
That's quite interesting. Is the Baron still here? Did he leave already?
Oh, he's here. He's part of the dead king retinue, as it were. Now that they have, the queen is now the queen. What's the word? That's the word. Queen regent. She's a queen regent because it's a little boy. They had a little boy. It's like 7, 8, 9. I'm not really sure. It's a little boy, still a child. It'll be a while he becomes the king, of course, unless something. Oh, may the light help us. I don't want to think about that.
God forbid. I hopefully no more problems occur. Though I get the feeling that we are not out of the woods yet, so to speak. I thank you so much for your time, sir. And I take out from my patch, my little satchel thingy, 2 dinar, and I give it to him. And I say, yes, I hope this will pay enough for the information you've given me and your time. And if you do find anything else, please let me know. He does
the very thing. It's like when you put it in, he sort of covers your hand as is, and you can feel that he only takes 1 coin. Which is rare because you take listen, Mike. We heard that you were one of those King's Guards folk. Seeing you around talking to them. I mean, we could be mistaken. If we are, well, I guess I'll take my full pay. But if I'm not, consider this a thing. That in the future, perhaps, someone somewhere may have to look the other way, or maybe answer questions. Think of us, of the Society of the Plenty, the daughters and sisters of the Plenty, and have you close in your hearts. And he sort of retreats his hand. He only takes 1 dinner, and it's like, well, I guess I have to go back to work before somebody wraps my head in back. So
I never want that. I bow and I give him a nod, and I say, "Have a good day, sir."
All right. See ya.
See ya.
And you know that when he keeps talking about the fraternity, sorority, the group of the brothers and sisters of plenty, that essentially is a sort of a code word for what could be called like a thieves guild, right? For the association, if you will. It's not as formal as some other systems, but it is, it's just a loose association of that work together. Yeah. And
I likely have had dealings with them before.
Yeah.
Very good.
And normally they wouldn't even talk about that openly, but he wanted to impress on you the fact that that's who you were dealing with.
Yeah, and it looks like he's looking for an angle too from our end as well, which is interesting. Which now makes me wonder who's hiring them to do stuff right now. Because that's in the back of my mind at this moment. I guess while I was that was taking up most of my time today, so I guess I would probably find Father Vesper and Spencer as they are doing their thing.
Yeah, Brother Vesper and
Brother Vesper, excuse me.
Yeah. He's been ordained, but he's not being elevated that quickly. And our coming
dream.
Yeah, maybe soon, but not today. Spencer, you were heading over to talk to the Admiral, I think it was? Do your own investigation? Or, as you're coming in, you actually meet the Admiral coming out of the tent. And he has 2 guards with him. And he's like, excuse me. He's sort of going to walk through, right? Are you going to try to stop him? Or are you going to what is your strategy here? What are you going to do?
Aren't we supposed to have audience with Balgruff?
Oh yeah, Balgruff.
Yeah, so I thought that's where we would go next, which I assume that we think he's in the presence of Baron's camp.
Yeah, you're coming in, and along the way you have this sort of meeting. Basically, says, excuse me, and he's going, making a beeline for the king's.
He's interrupting us.
Yeah, and the sort of that he was coming from the direction of Gregory's tent, and you go into the Baron's tent. There's guards outside. They stop you for a moment. What do you say?
Oh, please, do announce us. I am Brother Vesper, and I have audience. We had an invitation for the audience, right?
Yeah, that was a letter was sent.
Okay, Brother Vesper and servant.
All right. It'll be a moment, sir. And he walks in. A moment later.
Should have said that day. I'm sorry about that, Spencer.
It's fine.
And they open the flap, right, and they let you in. The Baron's not there. But Balgruff is. And his cloak, of course, he's pulled back. And his one white eye. Ah, brother. He bows to you.
He might not. He already knows I'm my brother. That's weird, but not that weird. What does it mean?
Remember that he was there with some other druids the first time.
Okay, that's right. He was
the
there.
bishop, so they already have a connection as well. Yeah.
Sir, please, you honor me by already addressing me in such a manner, and I am so ignorant in the customs of how to properly address you.
Sir, we'll be fine. I am a humble servant of the goddess, as you are a humble servant of your teachings.
Yeah. Just kind of pause. Like, yeah, about your entire faith and belief system. Look, whatever sort of formalities or rigid systems that you and I operate in, after the sun crosses the sky, the most important thing is that it sets upon a happy and ordered people. So our own personal doctrines mean nothing compared to the health and safety of this land.
True enough. The skies are dark as it is.
Yeah, that's weird. That's not right.
Only if you don't want to. Only if you fail to see what is before you. But please, sit. There's a small table, and he has some wine, and he offers us your.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm so thirsty. I've had nothing to drink since we stole all that water from those orphans back there.
And also said there's some bread and stuff like that. So he cuts it for you. It's like,
oh, you're very generous.
Yeah,
I'm not so proud that I would turn down a free meal, as anyone who has ever enjoyed my company may tell you.
In these very troubled times, it is good to keep these lines of conversation open. Perhaps you have some questions for me, you said in the letter?
I have but one, and that is, as a fellow almoner who serves the common good, how may I serve?
It's an excellent question. You and I travel in different circles, let's be honest.
A little bit.
But like the sun and the moon, they follow each other. Never touching, but always close enough.
What about the eclipses?
Thank you.
Would he know that an eclipse is made because the moon goes in front of the sun?
Well, I would say that because
I don't think he doesn't. He's like.
I mean, you can balance the sun and the moon because their astrology tells us where the moon is relative to the sun. Also, if you look closely in the Ironclaw book, there's a map of the sky, and apparently the world's heliocentric, which is geocentric, which cracks me up.
Yeah. He says, well, in those cases, the moon covers the sun and casts darkness, but strangely provides an eerie light nonetheless. And this is a time very much like an eclipse, where most of things happen to be dark, but there's still some light therein. And
we have to watch. We have to watch for eclipses because also in the fine print of the book, any consecration spell has 0 power during an eclipse. We don't know why.
Lack of light, I suppose. The whole place is solar powered. Anyway,
weird.
He says, personally, I do not require any service from you, brother. Nor would I ask, nor would I presume to ask. But we do have some concerns nonetheless. The bishop has said that you are a good man, a good brother.
I'd like to think the bishop was correct.
So would I. We have known each other for a very long time. She has wise in her ways, which is the best thing I can say about anyone.
That is pretty much a good thing to say about people, yes. I can see why they made you a druid.
Thank you. The upcoming situation is as follows. We fear that there is a ancient party who believes that they can resurrect the past.
What's so bad about the past?
Well, so bad about the past was that there's a reason why there are 4 islands instead of 1.
That would be pretty bad. So, dark, evil guys trying to bring them back. All right, what do you need us to do? Who do you need us to stake, break on the wheel?
Well, normally my brothers and I would have tried to deal with this, but it seems that they have made their way into the positions of power, more temporal power. And there's also, they have help from the outside.
Well, in terms of how they've entrenched themselves in your own power structure, I would think that myself and Gregory, also being outsiders, would not be much help there. But yes, I would agree that a lot of the evidence points to outside influence, which also seems, if I may be so bold, sir, if it's an entrenched power struggle within this land itself, how would they get other Outlanders involved in the first place? the struggles of your place are an enigma to the customs of my own people, but all evidence points to some sort of influence from beyond the sea. What possible reason would they have for this? What would they be offered?
Well, several hundred years ago, there was a civil war. You may wonder why those who rule now are not the same as ruled before. There were foxes and wolves that were rulers, and now we're ruled by felines, particularly lions. The reason what happened was that a young prince exiled from Calabria came into our shores and was able to turn the tide of the battle, end the civil war, and in the process claim himself to be king. And we supported him. But in that civil war, shortly afterwards, several tablets, several holy documents were lost. We always believed them to have been stolen and taken back to Calabria.
I apologize for interrupting you, sir, but when you say civil war, how long ago was this?
Several centuries ago.
Okay. I mean, he would probably say 3 times 50 years, which is centuries ago.
Yes.
Okay. Wow, centuries ago well, I guess it could be from Calabria, but Calabria, as we know it as a nation, is a little less than 900 years old. But that could jibe. Well, with the
halfway there, halfway mark, yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, also, it could be within that window. The Church of Slamer, as we know it as an organization, has existed for about 800 years.
Yeah.
But the current state, I think, has only been there for about 200. But no, that could jive. Also, it's the Rinaldi, who used to be really big jerks instead of just being inbred syphilitics, which is a different kind of jerk.
Now, we have lost track of those holy text had. But they were a record of what we believe to be a cataclysm that shook the isle and led to the formation of the islands as they are today. Our own investigations have been limited, but we know that our job as druids is to maintain the peace of the land, and that the roads, as you might know them as ley lines, are part of the puzzle. We have been investigating these things, trying very hard to uproot any form of chaos that might bring disorder and destruction.
Forgive me again for being so bold, sir, but the idea that there would be 4 tablets that contain information, it's my understanding that the ways of the druid, that there are things too important to be written down, and it's supposed to be an oral tradition. Who made these tablets, and are they a violation of the very order that you suggest?
Our order has changed from time to time. The reason why we keep an oral tradition is in part because it is difficult to trust the written word. But kings and magisters and men of power believe that if they can stamp their teachings and their instructions upon stone and page, that will have the weight of the world. We believe that these tablets
out there. Yeah. I mean, once again, interrupt, but just put it there. Have you considered theocracy? It might just be better for everyone.
That's perhaps a philosophical discussion for another day. This is a little more tension.
Just putting it out there, just let you know. Ready anytime.
And they have stamped it. And we believe that this is at least a more accurate history of what actually happened and who was behind it. If these foreigners discover these tablets, then perhaps they have discovered a way to recreate this phenomena. Doing so would be highly disruptive and not destructive.
Wow, so someone blew up your island and then wrote down how they did it. Yep, I could see how that could be a problem.
Or those who were observing and survived describe the phenomena.
Well, you're sure it's only 4?
As far as we know, yes. But they're now in foreign hands, beyond our reach.
Oh, well, that sounds like the problem has basically resolved itself.
Except though now we find ourselves for the first time in a long time being influenced from the outside, and our own investigations have shown that people are trying to manipulate the essential forces, energies of the isles, the ley lines.
Oh, so you don't have the tablets, but you think that a lot of the weird things that are going on are because people are following instructions that they've read off of the tablets. Do I follow?
Yes. And this corrupting influence, especially at a time of, well, let's be honest, possible civil war, will be the worst case possible. What exactly do these people gain from this? We wish to know. We don't know. But this is beyond our ken, beyond our abilities to deal with. So I extend an olive branch first to the bishop, and now to you and to your people to help us in any ways we can. We rarely speak with outsiders about this. But like I said, the bishop believes that you are a good man. We need good.
It is good that we put behind us our pride and our vainglory and realize that all of us want to work towards the greater good.
Indeed.
Well, I apologize if you or your own have already suggested this course, but if the tablets aren't on the Isles, but agents are working to cause the problem again, there must be some method of communication from the foreign powers to their agents that exist here.
And we have attempted to discover this. But like I said, I believe, in fact, that they are operating not within our own order, although they probably may have one or more connections. I'll be truthfully there. We are very rather disorganized, I'm afraid.
Well, I can imagine, seeing as you have an oral tradition and a bunch of, that's brass to pause. How do I say pagan mumbo jumbo without sounding like a jerk? Your own idiosyncratic system of Brehonic law that requires certain forms of address and geocide to be observed in many situations. I can see how your enemies, with their brazen disregard for your golden traditions, could flout your conventions and work around them. It is the most baseless and artful of crimes. And I will continue shaking my raccoon fist.
You have conveyed years, a lifetime worth of wisdom in a few sentences. You are truly a wise man.
This would bring us to an impasse here, though. I also am an outsider. In order to be able to work with you and yours, there would have to be some degree of trust, some sort of bond. My associates, I'll just gesture to Spencer here, my associates and I have been hampered in our own investigations for this very reason. The locals keep us at an arm's length.
True. And we will endeavor to, how's the phrase, grease the wheels as much as possible.
Well, so
if you see one of our brothers, and he basically he puts a sort of a little stone, fetish on the table. It's a figure basically of the Venus, sort of the prehistoric Venus, the one that is sort of very shapely. It says this, and perhaps your friend here might want to handle it, considering it is a sacred symbol of the goddess. Will show you that you're empathetic to us. So if you feel that there is any obstruction there, that might help convince people that we are in fact working together. It's not a guarantee they give you full information, perhaps, but again, it might grease the wheels.
You have put your trust in me, and I will reward this with a threefold effort. And I guess I'll hold the ring up. No.
Yeah. And we will conduct this. Also, I heard that you were doing some questions about what happened with the mine out in the Western Isle. Is that correct?
Crud. Because
Yeah.
the problem is, I'm thinking, you know, in term, I mean, just to note to the game host here, plot wise, I really don't, because I think this whole issue of outsider influence trying to kill the king is way more important than how they figured out where the metal was coming from, and that was like a stupid little interseed battle. But on the other hand, Vesper would be way too polite to just blow him off like that. So naturally, I would sit there and entertain him with idle conversation about it. But to be honest, it's not. Unless
Basically,
you volunteer some information about it.
Basically, it's as a sign of, this is a sign of confidence on you, so that you understand what's
Right.
going on.
So, so Vesper would draw the conversation out for as long as possible, making sure that the bread and wine keeps coming.
Yeah, he explains essentially that the reason why they were, it's not that the iron came from that, it's that the iron was there, but it was adjacent to one of the ley lines. That was that wall that you found, maybe a forgotten road. And so the druids were making sure that it was protected, because that's part of what they do, right? They somehow they know that they have to protect the ley lines because it's part of this sort of greater earth magic that is
druids have Giasai, magical protections, where they ask the world, hey, what do you want? And then the world tells them, and the druids don't ask. Yeah. But like when the world tells them to jump, they jump. They don't ask how high.
Yeah. So they explain to you that that's what they were doing, right? And he says so basically, so like you might find it suspicious because they didn't offer an explanation. They don't offer explanations.
No, they're
yeah. But they want to so you understand something that was very, to them, is just the way things are done, right? If somebody does it, and the locals, being believers, right? They accepted that the druids came on and said, "Don't dig here," and they're like, "Well, I guess we won't dig here because these people told us to, right? we're not gonna mess with that, right? We don't know what it is."
Yep, so that's our entire religion. Just surrender to the power from without.
Yeah, and that explains that little detail. And this is good for Spencer as well, because if you have maps of the region, you can also mark that space as being someone that has a ley line. That's a piece of a ley line. That's something you can add to your mystery in your book. Spencer, are you going to ask him anything about, this person's coming, being forthcoming with his information? That you're going to ask him anything?
Yeah, I did have a question, and it slipped my damn mind.
I do want to clarify, Spencer. Do you want to talk to him directly, or do you want to beam it into my head and have me ask it?
That's probably what he would do, but I had something to ask at one point, and I'm drawing a blank on it. Yeah, so I guess I'm sorry, but skip on me then. I don't want to hold the game up just because I have a brain fart.
Don't worry about it. You can just write it down, and then we can sort of retroactively do it so that it's information out.
Oh yeah, I do remember it now. He did ask if during that cataclysm that that Bargriff had spoken of, if any of the rivers had flowed backwards.
He says he doesn't have a lot of information on the specifics, but it was a cataclysm, and the way he described, essentially, this was just one island, right? A large island, not as large as not an island continent, but a large island, and essentially the middle of the island just disappeared. How it happened, how it was done, he doesn't know the specifics. And you think, wait a minute, if a big chunk of island just disappears or sinks or something or disintegrates, that's a lot of displaced water, right? Water's going to go everywhere. So maybe that's kind of fits with what he tells you, right? That it's like if something, if a big chunk of something explodes or disintegrates or whatever, and now it's just an ocean there, not an ocean, but a sea, that's a lot of water, right? That's and by the geography that there's spaces between the islands. So imagine that, think of England, take the middle England, disintegrate it, and then all the water from the North Sea and the Atlantic sort of kind of pour in because there's space for it to pour in. So and all that. Yeah. Again, he doesn't know the specifics. He couldn't describe you the magical theory about it or anything because he doesn't have that information. But yeah, he suspects that's what they have been able to piece together that happened. To be prepared to prevent it, but apparently it's whoever's behind this, they may want to recreate. And again, now that you think about it, that whole idea of that which was broken to be made anew, they mean about bringing back, well, the island as it was before. And you had a vision of waters rising and taking people sweeping. It's not a thing that you want to just do willy nilly, at least, no matter how well meaning you might think it might be.
And there's that chant that everybody's saying that was most recently heard in Spencer's mind reading of that younger man.
Yeah,
I can't quite remember the words. I think we have it in our charts though.
You first heard it when you were the vision of the assassin when he tied up the person they impersonated. You then heard it, and when you've heard it multiple times, right?
So, let's ask the druid what this phrasing means to them.
He ponders it and is like, "We heard of this before." From time to time, like I said, this is not the first time we confronted something similar to this, but they have always failed because they didn't have the whole information. We have lost so much, and we believe these tablets and other sources have more concrete information. They lost a significant portion of our oral history has been lost to us. But the simple answer, I believe, is that they wish to return the Isles to what they were before. And while at some level I think that would be a notable, perhaps, goal, the level of destruction and suffering that would come to it would be...
Once again, I apologize if I'm being too, presumptuous about this, but I understand that in the Druidic faith that you don't believe in a hereafter, but actually that life is not but a line but a circle, and that people often return again as reincarnation.
True enough. But also we believe, and one of the things, that each one of our lives adds value to the circle or detracts from it, and that the circle reflects that actions that we take. And we should not do unto others untold suffering.
But the reason why I would bring this up is that if a cataclysm happened centuries ago, and I'll look up outside of the rain, and if the otherworldly nature of this place is to be believed, is it not within possibility that the agent of the original change might have returned again to once again unleash it?
When you say that, he sort of steeples and like,
well,
you hit him right between the eyes. It's like, oh, damn. The possibility is like, young brother, you have given me a lot to think about. And he's an older man. He's an older wolf, right? He's not someone given to basically shivering, but he is shivering.
Well, the idea that someone would come back to do evil, I'm sure, is abhorrent. But I come from Calabria, where the Luderists talk about the return of Septicus all the time. Not to mention those heliodromes who need to get a good hot poker up where the sun don't shine.
Yeah. So the idea
it's a favorite thing. It's hot.
Yeah, and I mean the idea that they're facing not only a new threat, but truly an old threat. Yeah, he doesn't like that idea. I might have to confer with my brothers and sisters and see.
Well,
the
hour is late. Yes. And as fine as this bread and wine has been, and you've been very generous, once again, I hope to prove that your trust in me is well founded.
Go with the light, brother.
And you may the good that you do return to you threefold.
And before we leave, Spencer will have a little mind read, not read, but speak to Vesper.
Yep, you can send it how you want.
Yep. Let it be useful before you burn them at the stake, please.
We're not burning anybody at the stake. We would break them on the wheel and possibly quarter them.
So an improvement then.
About it.
Well, there's really not a tradition of burning witches in Calabria. It's pretty much stoning or breaking. But moving on from there. Spencer, unfortunately, I fear that the threat is even greater. Well, I mean, after we're done, I can speak freely to Spencer and explain why I think the threat is even greater than the druids can anticipate.
Yes, that the destruction that restoring the center of the island would cause, it would shake everything to pieces.
Well, and also, it's all evidence is pointing towards cognoscente intervention. So whoever their foreign party is, if their foreign party had to give them information, the easiest way to do that, there are two convenient ways to do that. One is to come as a display of an eidolon and converse with them directly, which is something you will eventually learn how to do. And the other one is to come to them in their dreams and explain it to them using the Sweven, which is also something you could eventually learn to do. So both of these Calabrese arts can easily be employed here, and we already have evidence of Calabrese intervention.
Yes, I shall indeed have a lot to do to clear the names of all good wizards.
Well, it's not so much clearing that. First of all, you don't have to clear the names of wizards. No one believes that wizards are up to any good. No. Anyway, we all know this. It's an accepted fact. No, what's more concerning is the fact that whoever is doing this, they can execute a sorcery on a massive scale. We are dealing with a master cognoscente. And they must be either they're on the premises or they're manifesting as an eidolon and doing it. Either way, we're going to have to identify the source, which means we're going to have to start working our way up, which I guess means we need to stop accidentally killing all the assassins and horrible coach wrecks.
Well, to be fair, he had something to do with that. He killed himself.
Right. That's why I said accidentally. We did give chase, and he did from the accident. So we're going to have to find ways to subdue people. This is going to be pretty harsh. Yeah, no, I believe all of it. Because we can't find the tablets. We can only... the druids just want us to anticipate what the tablets are going to do, which we can't possibly do because we don't have them. And there's a lot of evidence that points to the fact they're not even here.
Well, might there be any recordings from these tablets in your scriptorium?
Well, almost definitely not, because we're a foreign church, and the tablets were lost.
I see.
There might be mention of them, but the point is, if there were, the druids are also friends of the bishop. I would imagine that they would, the bishop's own investigations would have already turned them up. Now, somehow the tablets got moved offshore, which isn't that difficult. Shipping, the Calabrese have made landfall, and there is trading going on. No, I think the proper way to intercept this is if we can eliminate the master cognoscente, we can eliminate the threat. And I don't even think we want to eliminate them. We need to find them. This means we need to find their agents. Now, how close are you to being able to invade people's dreams?
That is something that I was looking at a little further down the line, but I will hasten my progress in my studies towards that end, if you so desire.
If we can get, that's what I'm guessing. That would the easiest way to give somebody long-term instructions, if you're a cognoscente, is to appear to them in their dreams and talk to them, because that's the major purpose of that spell. If any of you guys
there is the problem, though, that I should perhaps learn to capture a shade before I invade a dream, because dreams are literally infested with such beings, and the best way to fight a shade is to have one.
Well, no, you can also just use magic and just blow them away.
I can't.
No, you're a cognoscente wizard. You can confuse, infuriate, and apoplexy people all day long.
That causes no damage.
Well, the other thing is when you invade someone's dreams, the shades that are within them are usually the manifestations of their own hearts and desires. So binding those shades and taking them out of people has repercussions.
Oh no, here's the out of character, in character plan. When I get bind shade, he was going to go to look for a possible illegal fight pit to get a shade that had its career as a pit fighter to give it better brawling dice. And then he was going to use that anytime he was in a dream or out in the wild and was attacked by a shade.
Well, I approve of your plan of bringing a stand. I think what we need to do right now is we need to start looking for evidence of people who are cat's paws, right, who work for a foreign power. They would have to be people that are outside of the immediate influence of the druids. They would have to be people who can command resources and circulate weapons like we've seen. And
right.
I mean, basically, they're spy networks. Basically, I don't really have a good answer for this. There's an underground network of people wandering around, and the easiest way I could think of to find them would be to join them.
That sounds like fun. Let's do it.
All right. Well.
So that was an interesting conversation.
Let's go get some dinner.
Yeah. I think we talked to all the principals that we're going to talk today, so you're going to be coming back together again. We are finding ourselves in the tent of the king, where they're holding the vigil. The scene you're watching is you see the younger brother. He walks up to the plinth, and he falls to one knee, crying. His wife sort of tends to him before his father, and he says to him, say something, but nobody hears it. Some sort of mumble, maybe a prayer, maybe a vow of some sort. He gets up, walks in front of his older brother. They have a moment where they stare at each other intently, and you can, the anger is palpable there, and so he walks away. Are you going to also pay your respects as well, or this is just a scene where you're sort of watching as part of the audience? What are you going to do?
The Gregory will probably end up paying his respects at some point, but I don't have anything sort of foreplanned for him. He's rather caught up in the machinations of everything, so he's probably rather muted compared to what he might normally do. So that might be obvious to people who know him.
If possible, is it for Duncan? Like, he would probably not go up specifically to pay respects. He would be scanning the room. Mm-hmm. Is it possible to maybe do an observation roll for any oddball activity, like subtle things that may be going on?
Well, apart from the obvious sort of separation of camps, right? There really isn't something other than what you expect. That people are kneeling and wait. You have some wailing and gnashing of teeth, mostly women and children. You do see for the first time the young prince who is now with his mother, the queen regent of. This is the prince of this particular isle, the southern isle, center isle. Yes. And he's there for the first time, and he seems more confused than sorrowful. I mean, this was his grandfather after all, so he is, he lost his grandfather. But he's actually even younger than the script. People say he was between 7 to 9 years old. He's closer to almost 6 years old. He is young, so that stands out. And he's wearing very rich robes that are almost a little too big for his size, right? So they, clearly they want to make him look regal, even though he is not of age, and will take, more than a decade for him to be of age, unless somebody decides to, just rush the coronation, which has happened as well. I mean, sometimes it's not strictly that it has to be done at age 18, but that's tradition, like in order to make sure that he has age a majority. Other people are there, right? You do notice the admiral. You do notice that the admiral for this part is sort of standing by himself, more or less.
Interesting.
Normally, he would have been standing closer to or in the retinue of the young king, but something has happened that he is standing by himself. I mean, he seems to be looking around, almost expecting somebody to show up. Very nervous. You met him before. You spent time around him in the court of the King Edward, and he's very much, someone who is very regal, somebody who is very confident, very boastful, and not today. Not today. He seems to be completely out of his element. Whatever has happened to put him in that position, you don't know. But yeah, he seems to be contemplating his options, whatever those might be. A lot of the servants are there as well. You'll just notice there's a lot of the common folk really are trying to come up to the king, and they're the ones who are they're not allowed to get that close to the guards, right? People who are nobles. I mean, literally, you notice how important people are. The closer they're allowed to get to the body of the king himself.
Yes,
and of course, his children are allowed to get close. In fact, you see the now would be, High King is standing right by, by the foot of the plinth, right, where his body is stayed, right, and that's about it, right. Aside from the admiral, and also you notice that there's a young lioness standing very close, or arm to arm, really, with Griffin, and they seem to be intimate with each other. Right? They have a sense of air intimacy, where she's even sort of, when she cries, she sort of cries into his shoulder and that sort of thing, right? And you can notice Harmon none too happy. Harmon is not one is stoic, not given to emotion, but you can see almost a crack of emotion that he doesn't necessarily approve of this. But we don't know why that is, but that seems to be a situation.
I'll probably ask Harmon about that later. I'm sure he'll be happy to tell me.
And so that's unusual, right? You one time or other, you see someone who is of not too higher standing try to rush to where the king is at, right?
Yeah, and they get stopped by the guards and stuff.
Yeah, and it seems to be, especially among the more commoners, there's an aura of not merely reverence in the political and sort of material way, but also almost an aura of religious reverence, right? That this figure has a religious importance to them, right?
Yes.
And you know this because you've heard a lot of people. One of the things about the owls is the belief that the king is the land is the king, and the land suffers when the king is ill, and the land prospers when the king is healthy and wise and good king, like good king, good land, bad king, or unhealthy king, a bad land. So that probably contributes to that. How true that is, you don't know, but there's the fact that the moment the king died, it started raining and thundering, and so where the sky's weeping for the king, or just simply happened something that just happens to gonna be rain. You don't know. Unknowable at this moment.
On that token, then I will continue my vigil, and if something weird or crazy comes up, I will try and get rid of it then.
Yeah, eventually you do the circle, right? Are you going to inform the Castilian about your investigation so far?
Oh, of course. I didn't want to do it in public, though.
No. You and Gregory, Or are you
right? Since I had to make the official report, so I'd probably attend to the Castilian once due and proper, probably after dinner too.
He has his own tent, so he, whatever he do. And here's the bulk of the forces of the king's chosen are there, right?
Yes.
And so, what are you gonna say? Remember that the Lady Chamberlain is not here; she stayed back at.
Right, and we've had some time to talk to with everyone else. I imagine Vesper may have shared what you two have learned, right? Yeah.
Oh, I would dispose freely. I mean, I really, I would mention, foreign agents, Master Cognoscente, wiping people's minds. It's all terrible. And just throwing this out there, it's not too late to throw the whole system out and reestablish a holy protectorate.
I'll file that under suggestions. I'll put it right here in this folder that'll definitely see the light of day. But yes, I'll go to the Castilian and I'll explain that I don't believe the Admiral is guilty of any wrongdoing in this event, and that in fact there are other means, even foreign agents, who might be responsible for this. In fact, ones that have interfered before.
Examinations by the chirurgeons of the king's body have confirmed that, as best as I can tell, simply the heart failed. The weight that he carried all his years finally got to him. Not a blessing, perhaps, but it's a good thing to know that there was no foul play, at least in that part. Are you sure the Admiral is cleared of all wrongdoing?
I am certain.
Very well. He seemed rather nervous.
I believe maybe he's not comfortable with things as they've happened. I would be perhaps a little worried myself had I the blood of a king on my hands.
To be honest, I thought it would have been much easier to just drag him into the field and decapitate him. Gives us tragic loss some justice. But alas, if the truth is that he is not guilty, then which you must suffer his foolishness for long. He is a good captain of men, I'll give you that, but a bit of a dunderhead when it comes to everything else.
True enough, but that alone is not enough to warrant execution. If only we could change that.
I've executed men for less, but not this day. Anything else you'd like to share? Do you also tell him about the nefarious plan to potentially blow up the island, or is that something you keep?
What the Castilian here is basically involved with the King's men anyway, aren't they? What's their position?
The Castilian basically is officially he's just the keeper of the castle, but in that position he is essentially also the head of the Privy Council, because it is his job to make sure who gets to enter and exit the castle and who gets to access to the king. So in an unofficial manner, he is the leader of the Privy Council, which is has all the major nobles, houses, and connections there, and guild masters and the like. Think about the prime minister is only the prime minister because he's just a minister that happens to be one higher among many, right? So
Okay, so now I under his position. And what was the thing you were
Primus Inter Pares? You mean like Primus Inter Pares, first among equals?
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh god.
And so what are you asking then to reveal which part?
Are you gonna? I'm not asking you to reveal. I'm just
yeah.
If you would, in fact, how far? Because he's not your direct boss. I mean, technically, you work for the king.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to tell him that I've threatened the Admiral and he's technically half in my pocket at this point or anything. No one gets to know that. It loses its power if you tell people that.
Yeah.
But I am going to tell him of pertinent threats, which is to say the Admiral's probably not going to murder anyone else. which is the important one today, and that there is someone who's probably going to murder someone else. This weird foreign agent.
It is. And what do you? Well, I'll have to discuss this with the Lady Chamberlain, of course.
Of course, she will be receiving my full report, and of course, she will see as well.
The question is how we move forward. She has put a lot of trust in you, young Gregory, and you, once again, have proven to be someone who can get the job done.
I've never been one to doubt the Lady Chamberlain's judgment.
I have from time to time, but that's my job, not yours.
True, true enough.
Now we almost retire back north. We see the young Edward is already pulling stakes. He should be gone by nightfall. I'll have to keep my eye on whether the Admiral goes with him or not, or I suspect that he won't do that for whatever reason. And you should also be embarking soon enough and go northward as well.
True enough, I wish to return home as soon as I can.
Take your report directly to the Lady Chamberlain. By that time, I think she would start marshalling any and all resources you might need. But we need, after all, as always, more information.
And I suppose that is where my role returns once again. I have no doubt the Lady Chamberlain will keep me on it.
I'm going to ask you a rather personal question. What do you think of the young Duncan?
Duncan. Well, I do believe he is resourceful. If nothing else, he perhaps could have expedited us some of our investigation had he been with us earlier. I haven't had much interaction with him yet, but he does seem at least good at his job.
I see. Very well. Well, your next orders are basically to move north again. Take your team, talk to Lady Chamberlain, and we'll proceed from there.
I understand.
You two will debrief her, of course, and she will then brief me. Hopefully, by the time the king arrives in castle, he will be a new High King. Hopefully.
Indeed. And all of this can be behind us.
But for now, well, good job.
Thank you, my lord.
I can see a bright future for you. A very bright future indeed. Now, excuse me. I have much to do. And he has one of those sort of Roman-like chairs that doesn't have a back. It's just sort of like a U, right? And sort of he leans on it. Yeah. Next, someone else brings a report.
Yeah, I have to move out of the way. Meetings a dozen.
Yeah. And so now you're back. And Victoria has something to say. She says that she will be accompanying the Queen, of course, north. And that the question is who becomes the new king of the island that was vacated.
Dibs.
Ooh. Yeah, dibs.
Too late, I got it. It's mine.
Ah, dang it, Harvin, you always beat me. You're always faster than I am. Gosh, dang.
There's no rule that says the High King can also be a regional king, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that is also part of the problem because now, the balance has been
If only there was some proud up-and-coming lion who has shown off time and again his resourcefulness and trustworthiness.
But that is a question for another day, right?
Yeah.
And so we close with you having, unless you guys want to have any more discussions, we close with Gregory sort of exiting the tent. The sky seemed to clear a little bit more, almost as if the land is now accepting the fact that the old king is in fact gone and perhaps a new king will take its place. But it's still overcast nonetheless. The sun is finally coming down. And we end our session of the Isles. A crisis seems to be averted, but the future is both dangerous, murky, and becoming extremely real. So now we go to the end of session stuff.
Yeah. I guess the names and mottos first. I'm Gregory Verkin III. I'm fit to be the king.
Well, you took command of the situation, that's for sure. Moving chess pieces around, or capturing, I would say. You captured a good knight there,
Yes, this is very entertaining.
Yeah, so definitely you're in that. That's a point that you guys earned right there. Who else?
Well, my motto,
Go ahead.
is keep your faith alight, but keep your powder dry. So as you can see, I have been both practical and religious at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We also talk about secrets, I think.
Yes,
Isn't that right, Spencer? Yeah.
for those that no one knows you to keep.
I think definitely you got into that. You extracted a lot of information, got a lot of secrets. So, that's a point for there. Duncan?
Unfortunately, I don't think I really hit my motto that much today. Charity begins at home. There's very little at the moment that Duncan has gained from this other than information, some sort of rapport with our friend Gregory here or
Well,
and
sure.
the rest of the
this
party.
is your home, and you offered your services freely to me. Aren't you polite and nice and this so charitable?
To you maybe.
You didn't oppose your motto. That's the big point.
That's,
You didn't just
that's
throw
true.
up the middle fingers and walk away. So congratulations.
It's like, oh, well, you want to help him? No, I'm just gonna go this way. I'm heading out of here. Too much shit. In all seriousness, though, I mean, if you want to give the point for that specific thing that Griffin just said, go for it. But personally, I don't know if necessarily Duncan did.
You get the motto as long
today.
as you don't go jump into a pool of acid for it.
Yeah.
No, that's that. On that case, then I think I'm good.
Yeah.
And finally, Harmon.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know that you're in for the fight of your life.
Let's see. The Admiral being intimidated by your presence.
He brought 2 guards.
Yeah.
Surely 2 Marines would be able to handle Harmon.
Yeah.
Look,
will
the
they?
same thing I've always said. Any fight or any session of fight doesn't happen. Well, it didn't happen because of me.
Except for point. We also have the accomplished goal. So you did, in fact, accomplish the goal in a very interesting manner. I thought it was. I want to say that I thought that it was basically going because it was set up as a
binary.
Right? Either you screw him over or you save him. But I'm always happy people taking a third option, especially.
Yeah, I definitely put my usual spin on this. Not only did I defy expectations, I also manipulated it into being another gear in my repertoire for the master plan unfolding.
Yeah, so that's
blackmail on top of blackmail is always a good thing.
Oh, hell yeah.
I mean, you not only managed to make sure that, and you did also investigate the fact and found that he wasn't apparently guilty of this.
Mm-hmm.
He was a pawn, so in a sense, you saved him, right? You didn't condemn him. And on top of that, you managed to get him to be on your side, at least for the moment anyway. Problem with blackmail is it has a very short half-life,
At the very least, he's not taking an immediate action while the king is on his very own boat or something.
Exactly.
And
so,
we learned something really important about him, too. He's not involved in this weird piracy stuff we're learning about.
You also discovered more information tangentially what's happening with the mystery of the book, and I think it's basically the druid basically tried to give as much information he had available.
Mm-hmm.
Not as much as the GM had available, of course, because that's different, but druid certainly. So I think that's another point, another goal that you achieve as well.
You solved the book mystery, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, in general terms. Now you have to discover who's behind the mystery, who's manipulating it. But you basically know what's going to happen. You know what happened.
So we've accomplished 2 goals, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
And have you offered a new goal?
And the new goal, of course, is discover who is behind this conspiracy. Who is going to try to destroy everything. And I think that's a new goal. And I think another goal is to make sure that the king actually gets to his throne. Right. Because you're in the south now, but they have to travel north on ship, so
Indeed.
So that could happen.
Do you have rewards in mind yet?
No, I'll have to work on that in a moment. But I do believe that, I think certainly has to be like a combat goal for this.
Yeah, what was our reward for backing Team Gregory in the Grand Melee?
Increased career.
Increased career, yeah.
Oh, okay. I forgot to note that. That's my bad.
You basically discovered the secret of what was happening, right? The big secret behind the ley lines and whatnot. In general terms, not specifically. You might discover more information, but you have a good picture. And also you basically cleared and manipulated the admiral into your good graces. So accomplish those two goals. And now your new goals are to ensure that the king can reach the throne, right? And also discover who is this Cognoscenti and whoever else the Grand Conspirators who's behind him and stop them. So that's probably going to be a long-term goal. But probably you could start fulfilling points of that when you start unraveling the conspiracy. You know there's a conspiracy. You know what their general goal is and how destructive it can be. And so you're in the right path on that one. There's always more questions. Every answer leads to more questions, so that's always a good thing about a mystery. And finally we have, unless somebody else wants to throw in something in the hat, the debriefing.
Yeah,
this one I kind of already started it. I think this was very interesting, so I'll let you have the floor and see.
I'm digging.
Let's start with a new player. What do you thought about the session?
Hello. It was good. I always enjoyed playing Ironclaw, so it's good to actually do it again after, like, oh my goodness, it's like 7 years.
Yeah, it's been a while, man. Good to have you back.
I know. That's what happens when you get busy. But no, it's I like that I kind of was able to sort of like tailor make the character a little bit to fit the role. Sort of for the group and for the dynamics that you mentioned to me and all that stuff. And it's good to actually do something that is a little different, because I've never really done like a straight up sneak style thief like this before. That's like less talky, more looking, trying to like steal things in that way. So it's actually going to be interesting to see how it goes with that. And I like the dynamics with all the other characters. I do apologize for I've had for all the mic and camera issues I've apparently been having throughout the session. Like I actually had the entire stream cut on me twice. Not the stream, but like Discord cut on me twice, where I would just like kicked out and had to jump back in. So sorry about all that for like disrupting, if anything, like that occurred and whatnot. So
it happens.
Yeah.
I'm going to invest in a webcam or something webcam-like so I can try it on the new computer. We'll see how that goes for Sunday.
Here's hoping.
Yeah. But no, I enjoyed myself, so thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah, I had a good game today. Thank you for running.
Appreciate it.
I'm definitely enjoying the different parts of the story we're having. The Admiral Hag thing was as complicated as I could have made it. And yeah, the option was definitely there to just like drop the book on him and destroy his entire career, more or less just because we feel like it. Which there's bonus to that, which would have been just immediately neutering that and making sure that our choice, gets completely free reign. But this position I think is like more subtle. If I just drop the book on him, then obviously, then there's suddenly scandal around that too. It's like, oh, you broke it. Did you have political motive for this? Like, yes. But if nothing happens, there's no accusation. I'm clear, and he's the only one who has to worry, which is great. Mm-hmm. I also love all the druid reveals that I'm hearing over here, and it just grows deeper and deeper into just, full Death Star territory. It's like we're singing whole islands here. What are we going to do about this, guys? Is the rest of it going to sink?
I don't think the islands are going to sink in so much as, like, there's just going to be massive catastrophes all over the place now.
Oh, yeah. Imagine the opposite, finding some way to raise the islands, and suddenly all the boats we used to have are just completely ruined. Whoops.
I like how you're thinking.
Oh, yeah.
Things that could happen. The boats are
that is the most dramatic possible moment I can imagine, like, at this very second. But there's definitely going to be plenty of character dramatic moments, too. So, yeah, I'm definitely greatly enjoying the machinations right now. Anyone got anything?
Okay.
All right.
Well, we say our goodbyes. The shoutouts. Time for shoutouts. So we're gonna start again. Duncan, do you have any shoutouts you want to give?
Oh, like promotions or something, or
yeah.
Well, I mean, I do a lot of side work for a video game website called TechRaptor.net.
Mm-hmm.
I do articles and writings for them every once in a while. We also do tabletop stuff every once in a while there too. So if you want to check out some of our writings, articles, guides, whatever it is, give it a gander. It's TechRaptor.net. And other than that, thank you.
I believe you have a game coming up.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yes, we do. We have Urban Jungle coming up next, full of cultists, terrible monsters, and of course, the worst of all, librarians. Yeah, the book club will go on an adventure, and we'll see what happens. So come and join us next.
Arcloyd?
Yes, I'm Arcloyd, and I run a play-by-post game on We'll Play Online that seeks to go through the Ironclaw Book of Adventures.
Theta, who is now back at the driving seat of our stream. Do you have anything?
Yeah, well, if you're watching this channel, then you already know a bunch of stuff. But, yeah, tune in to us on Wednesdays. In the morning, sometimes we do things, so tune in for that. In the afternoon, tune in for upcoming Eclipse Phase. Also, in the evenings is Y-Hander. Sunday mornings, we have Hackmaster. In the afternoons, we have this game. In the evenings, as Griffin already said, we have Urban Jungle. On the YouTube side of things, tune in on Sundays for Hackmaster and Urban Jungle uploads. Mondays, Y-Hander. Tuesdays, Alien, so long as that's keep going. Because if you're already watching this, Alien's done. Evening, Numenera's running down. Wednesdays. There's a lot. Just tune in.
See the schedule below.
Tune in, because you just hear me ramble on about it. I'll be at this forever.
We are playing every game at the same time. Go watch.
Oh, I have a whole calendar of what release schedules are.
Multiple hyperspatial games going on at once. Reality's intermixing.
Gravity?
Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Well, I mean, I work for Sanguine Games, and Robert here is too modest because Robert was one of the key people behind Myriad Song, which is our science fiction role-playing game. And if you are watching this before July 31st of 2020, the Myriad Unbound bundle has the core books of Myriad Song, the graphic novel, and the core role-playing game available for $0 on drivethrurpg.com for a limited time.
Yeah.
And of course,
if you like Ironclaw, we're doing a Kickstarter too. Because we're doing the Book of Corals Kickstarter right now. I should probably mention that. Thank you for everyone who has supported it so far. It is about islands, not this one, but different islands. And it's currently in Kickstarter for Pledge Now for unique rewards.
And of course, I being your GM. And Ironclaw, I'd like to thank the crew for being here, as always, being lovely and having wonderful role-playing experience. I am also a multi-streamer. I go by Lessons Learned 1. Number 1 is very important, all in one word. And I'm currently playing Dragon Age Snarquisition every night from 8 to 10 Eastern, from Monday to Thursday. And also, I am a published author of Night and Stars, a speculative fiction collection for 99 cents. So you have Amazon, you have Kindle, just go to Amazon, Night and Stars, 99 cents. It helps me a lot, and you can have a good time as well. So thank you everybody for coming, and as always, we'll see you next Sunday.
See ya. Bye-bye.